we meet again. It's been so long. I think I posted the first Vlogmas yesterday, and here I am, back in front of the camera, ready for my close-up. Okay, so can I just say how incredibly exciting it is to have the tree here. Are we excited? We're very excited about the tree, aren't we? Yes, we are. We're very excited about the tree. Aren't you, Nola? You want to hold my hand, huh? Hi, everyone. It's me, Jess. I'm here for the second installment of 3 weeks of Vlogmas. Welcome to the video. So happy to have you. I'm not to shake too much because my camera is very precariously sitting on a canister of dog treats, the box for the puzzle, and James. That's what's holding you guys up right now. So I'm going to be trying to read 4 books. Probably won't finish all 4 books. Similar to the last vlog, I'll be starting 4 books and maybe finishing some of them during the vlog. This one, the first one I'm going to talk about, I know for sure I'm going to finish because I have to return it to the library, and I'm reading it with my friend Lori. It's Entitlement by Rumaan. I really enjoyed Leave the World Behind, and I had high hopes for Entitlement. Had kind of being the operative word right now because I am almost 200 pages into what is a 300 and, oh my gosh, even less. It's even shorter. So yeah, I'm almost 200 pages into a 275 page book, and I'm not feeling as stressed. I don't feel the elements of the psychological thriller in the same way that I felt them when I read Leave the World Behind. And because that's what I know him for, it's the only other book that I've read, I'm feeling a little disappointed. I'm going to finish this one because it is engaging enough to keep me reading, but I'm kind of disappointed. So I hate to start the vlog off with a book that's disappointing, but I'm feeling a little bit disappointed by this, and I'm worried because one of the other books that I'm reading for this vlog, which I'll get to in a moment, is also by another author whose last book I rated in one of my best books of the year, and I'm worried it's going to be the same effect. So this book is about our protagonist, Brooke Orr, who is a young biracial woman. She was raised with privilege. She went to middle upper class schools in Manhattan, and she now has this job with a billionaire, and the idea is that she is going to help him. She's become his protege, as she refers to herself and he refers to her. And she is ostensibly helping him decide how to spend his money, including finding different arts organizations where he could make charitable donations. She's found a potential dance studio that she thinks could benefit from his charity. The woman who owns this dance studio is not really open to this idea at all, has built this school up from the ground using no money from other people. She takes a lot of pride in that. She's a Black woman and she's in a Black community in New York. Her daughter, Michaela, is now involved. The owner of the school's name is Kailela. So this takes place in the time of the Obama administration, and the Obamas are referred to a few times in the book. There's also been a few attacks in the subways by someone with a needle. So these needle attacks are happening, and they've been referred to, like they were referred to in the opening chapter, and they've been referred to all along. In the last chapter that I just read, let me just back it up for a minute. So Brooke has decided that she wants to buy an apartment. She's made an application to buy this apartment, and she is really stretching the limits of how much money she has and what she's entitled to. The title of the book comes in here. And I thought it was going to come in more from the perspective of the billionaire being entitled, but it's coming in from the perspective of this woman who's his protege, acting in this very entitled way about money because she is has access now to this billionaire man who's doting on her like she's his child. At one point in the chapters that I just read, I thought maybe something was going to happen between them, and I'm still trying to figure out if something has happened between them or not. But she's applied for this apartment, and in the last couple chapters that I've read, she's really, like, she's written a letter of recommendation for herself and falsified the signature. I think she's falsified Carol's signature on the letter. And she's said in the letter how much she earns, but she's increased the amount of what she earns. So she's taking these liberties within the organization, and she's just been caught kind of doing that because another woman who works in the organization saw her printout of the letter when she came to get it from the printer, and she had already read it, and she kind of gave her a warning, kind of saying, oh, you have to watch out for this, you know, the pricker in the subway because somebody was attacked. It seems like a veiled threat, like you need to watch out for what you're doing. So that's kind of where we are. There have been a couple of scenes with her and her family and her and her friends, which really remind me, to me, they seem to be very heavily influenced by the scenes in The Devil Wears Prada, in particular where, what's her name? Andy, the character in The Devil Wears Prada, goes to, I think she blows off her friend's either a birthday party or a get together, or she shows up late, or she shows up and she has to take a call from the boss. This is all presented in this story as well in terms of Brooke and her relationship with her friends, where they're questioning her, like, who are you even? We don't really know who you are anymore. So this whole transformation of Brooke's character, I think, is the focus of the concept of entitlement, but I am still just reading and thinking about the book. And the thing is, I really feel like I'm almost 200 pages in, and I feel like there hasn't been enough. I'm not on tenterhooks or anything. I'm not feeling any, I don't know, when I was reading Leave the World Behind, I thought the writing was so good and I was so drawn in, and the tensions were so high. There was so much tension. The writing is not here in the same way that it was in Leave the World Behind, and I'm not even just mildly disappointed. I'm like really disappointed. So I hope that it picks up in the last 75 pages. I will let you know because you will be following along as I read this. This was my pick for the Reindeer Readathon's prompt Cupid, which is worth 10 points, which is to read a book by an author that you've given 5 stars to in the past. And the other book that I'm reading by an author who I've given 5 stars to in the past, which is just another one that I'm reading, I'm actually reading it because I talked about wanting to read it in my end of the year book tag, is the Empusium by Olga Tokarczuk. I'm actually reading it on my e-reader because the hardback hasn't come in for me on reserve from the library, and I haven't started it yet. Nice coincidence about reading the Empusium this week is that it's a translated book club pick for Scott's book club. Scott over at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot has Patreon, and he runs book club, and I'm hoping to join that conversation on Sunday. I'm hoping to read Empusium by them because I only have grading to do. I don't have any more classes, the responsibility of classes. I have a big presentation tomorrow, and then I am just grading. So the Empusium I'm really excited to read, but I'm also a little bit worried that it's not going to be as good as Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead, which I loved and was on my best books of 2021 list. I've heard that it's a slower read, and I ran into problems when I was reading Flights because I found it very slow, and it's making me a little bit worried about my proposal for a read-along for the books of Jacob. I'm still considering doing that, but I don't want to suggest a read-along for a book that's not going to be good. So again, any regular watchers who are interested in that possibility, we talked about it in another video. Let me know in the comments below. I know some people have shown interest. Just let me know, and I'll sort of try to see. I might read a couple of reviews just to see if it seems like it would be worth it. I think it was very well received, so I think it would still be worth it. And I might love the Empusium, so that will make me more enthusiastic. The Empusium it's billed as a health resort horror that is also a historical fiction novel. So this one is set in a sanatorium, and it's set right at the beginning of World War I in September 1913. It's centered on a student who's the main character who's suffering from tuberculosis. And he arrives at this health resort. I guess the residents of this health resort have interesting conversations on all kinds of different topics. And so that, I think maybe she's going to explore some political topics in those conversations of the guests and the interactions between the guests. And then, but also at the same time, strange things start to happen. It seems like someone or something is watching them and trying to infiltrate their lives. I'm not sure. I'll let you know as we go along. It sounds like it could be really, really good. But like I said, I've unfortunately heard a couple of negative things about it. So now I'm feeling a little bit nervous going in. The other two books that I want to read for the Reindeer Readathon and in this vlog are We Meant Well by Erum, Shazia, Hasam, and The Most by Jessica Anthony. I really wanted to I've been wanting to get to We Meant Well since last year. It's about a woman who is involved with a nonprofit organization, and she wakes up in the middle of the night because she gets a phone call about one of her colleagues being accused, I think, of sexual harassment or sexual abuse. And she has to get on a plane and travel quickly to the site of this, I don't know if it's an orphanage, and she has to investigate what's happening. And I think the theme of the book is to really explore what kind of help is actual help, and how do these nonprofit organizations abuse their role in situations where they actually hold quite a lot of power. It just started, very briefly started, and so far the writing is very smooth and it's very good. So the place where this story takes place is not a real place. It's an artificial place. It's called Lekani. I hope I'm saying it right, but because it's an artificial place, I think it's okay for me to mispronounce it if I do. I'm not sure if it's an examination of something systemic like that, or if it's an examination of an individual personal situation. I'm not sure. So again, we will find out. And The Most, which I'm also very excited to read, it's about a woman named Kathleen. It's set in 1957. She's supposed to go to church with her two young sons and her husband, and she decides not to go and instead goes to the pool. The book takes place over an 8-hour period, and that's really all I know about it, but I'm excited to read this one as well. So that's really the reading agenda for the vlog. In terms of activities, I'm not sure what we're going to do this week. I do know that my Christmas tree, not featured yet, my Christmas tree is being delivered this weekend. So definitely the tree is coming. I wanted to take you to the Burke's Library. I did have a comment in the comments on my last vlog asking to go to the Westmount Library, which is a really nice idea. And I think that's a possibility too. We'll see where the vlog takes us. If I don't go to the Westmount Library in this vlog, I can visit it in another vlog. It's a very nice library. It does have a very nice greenhouse, although at this time of year, I'm not sure. I really want to go to a holiday market. I'm not quite sure all the things we're gonna get up to. I really want to take a walk at night and look at all the Christmas lights. That's something that I really love doing at this time of year. I actually have some Christmas lights there, and I actually have some Christmas lights outside. I don't know if you can see my outdoor ones. I don't like them to be too over the top. You know, the whole house is lit up with craziness, but it's kind of fun to walk around and look at people's Christmas decorations. And then the last thing that I want to do is I really want to go and pick out some wool, because you may have seen Nola in a Christmas sweater in the TBR for the Reindeer Readathon. That was from the dollar store, and it's not made of nice material, and I would really like to knit a nice sweater for the dog. So I might go pick out some wool and start a knitting project this week. I'm really looking forward to spending this time with you. Thank you so much for being here, and I will update you soon. Hi everyone, good morning. Yes, I am bundled up. It is very cold today. Whew, I think it was -15 overnight. I'm just checking the temperature. Our Christmas tree is being delivered today. Not sure we're going to decorate it during this vlog because my daughter's writing exams and we all want to decorate it together. So, but the tree is arriving and I need to go get some cash for a tip. And I also was gifted very nicely this Starbucks, this is not sponsored, Christmas blend coffee, but it's in coffee beans. So I need to go to my local Starbucks and get them to grind this so I can actually drink it. Very exciting stuff. The kind of weather where as soon as you walk outside, your nose starts running. It's -10. It's -10, but it's sunny, which means I'm definitely going to need to take some sunglasses with me. My eyes are very sensitive to the light. And I have to take this guy out. Hey, you want to go for a walk? Hey, you want to go for a walk? You want to go outside for a walk? Yes, I have to take him out as well. So that's kind of what's on the agenda today. I actually thought I would go to a wool store also a bit later because I want to knit him a sweater, as I mentioned. So I might go and see if I can find some wool today. Finished Entitlement. He just took my mitten. Oh my gosh, update soon. Hi. So as I was saying before my mittens were so rudely taken from me, is that I have finished Entitlement, which I have thoughts that I want to share, and I've started the Empusium, so I have thoughts on that already, and we meant well. So lots to update you on when I get back to the house. I've also put down paper and pulled up the tree stand from the basement, so we're all ready for the tree delivery, except I need the tip. And yeah, I'm gonna go get my coffee ground and I'll check back with you back at the house. It's cold today! Okay, so that was very successful. I did get a holiday coffee. I asked them to make it a lot less sweet because I really don't like the Starbucks sweet coffees. And actually, I'm not a fan of corporate Starbucks. But here's the thing, like, the people in there were so nice. You know, they were just so nice, so friendly. So I feel like that kind of made up for it. I was happy about that.
Bien sûr.
J'ai eu un peu de misère avec
le pied?
Oui, mais ça va.
Alors, les chiens, j'en ai 2 à la maison.
J'ai mis de l'huile parce qu'ils étaient vraiment comme...
Pris dans la rouille.
Oui, c'est ça. C'est celui en arrière que j'ai de la misère avec ouvrir, mais je pense que je pourrais peut-être la fermer. Je ne sais pas, c'est vraiment... Oui, c'est ça.
Elle voit un tournevis?
Non. Mais je suis capable de...
Oui, on les chambres. Ah, c'est sûr qu'il ne tiendra pas si on n'a pas trouvé le pied. Ah oui, tu l'as plein de bisous. Oui, tu l'as plein de bisous, mais là, t'es dans le bout, toi. C'est un bon chien. C'est un bon chien.
Vraiment désolée, hein. Je sais que c'est pas vraiment votre job.
Un bébé?
Non, il a vraiment 3 ans. Mais il est comme un bébé. Vraiment pas bien. Okay, so can I just say how incredibly exciting it is to have the tree here? Are we excited? We're very excited about the tree, aren't we? Yes, we are. We're very excited about the tree. Aren't you, Nola? You want to hold my hand, huh? So yes, the tree has arrived. I would like to give you an update on my reading. So I have finished Entitlement. I'm still forming my opinions about Entitlement. It was a very quick read, and I think it was interesting. I think that, well, it definitely kept me engaged through the whole story. I kept thinking something was going to happen between the billionaire and his protege. What I thought was going to happen, or where I thought he was going to take us with the story, is different from what happened. And I don't want to really talk too much about the ending of the story because I don't want to give it away. I do think this was pretty good. It wasn't as gripping to me as Leave the World Behind was, but it might be unfair to compare the two because I actually think Rumaan Alam is trying to do something different with this novel. And what he's exploring is the idea of privilege and entitlement and degrees of entitlement. In this case, it's set in New York City, so we have an urban environment, so it's quite specific. So he really explores that with the protagonist, our main character, Brooke Orr, and the way in which her being basically the way that she being around money, being around a moneyed family, and being somehow responsible for dispersing the funds of this foundation, the way that that exposes the privilege, of course, of the billionaire and the people running the foundation, but also her shift to behaving in a more entitled way or a more privileged way. And I think one of the most poignant things is that there's a guy pricking people on the metro, and that is a bit of a capsule of what Rumaan Alam uses that, I think, to create tension, but also to have as a touchstone for because entitlement is a difficult thing to explain in terms of its subtleties. And in the situation where Brooke is could potentially be a victim of this attacker on the subway, but how he, for example, the billionaire, would never be a potential victim unless, I guess, we did just have the assassination of the United Healthcare CEO. So unless he decided to go on the subway of his own volition, but the point is that he could avoid that. It wasn't really part of his world or his reality. It wasn't something that he thought about when he was living his daily life, for example. Just as an example, I'm not going to get into all of the different observations that are made about entitlement in the story, but that is one of them. I also think the way that race is handled in the book is also very interesting and has more to do with Brooke's allegiance or her, I guess, her acknowledgement of her Blackness and the way that she turns her back on her Blackness in the story and kind of turns her back on her Black community in the story, as she does with her family, which I already talked about in the introduction. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I need to sit with the book for a little bit longer, and I'll probably talk more about it in a wrap-up, but I think it's definitely worth picking up and reading. I really would love to have conversation with other people about it. Very happy to have knocked this one out so quickly. It literally just read very, very quickly. Wow, the pine needles are dropping. You can hear the needles dropping from the tree as it falls. Oh, it's so nice to have the tree here. So I've also actually started the Empusium by Olga Tokarczuk. I am just at chapter 2, so I'm not very far in to the book, but already we have a dead body, so that's promising. A woman has died, and I think she's been hung. That's what I have so far. But I have also learned that apparently she is referencing Thomas Mann's novel, The Magic Mountain. At least that's I don't know if I guess it's a retelling maybe, or I'm not sure. I haven't read too much up on it. And I don't know anything about The Magic Mountain, but I am going to read up on it as I carry on with the book, which I'm going to be focusing on reading next because Scott's book club is tomorrow and I need to finish it to read it for tomorrow. So I really literally have to read all day today and all morning tomorrow morning in order to get it read. So far it's creepy vibes, very gothic. The young man who's arrived at the sanatorium, I'm nervous to say his name because I'm not sure I'm going to say it right. I think it's Mieczysław. I looked it up. So Mieczysław is this young man who's come to be treated for TB at the sanatorium, and he's already talking about the idea of people spying through walls there's already a fairly creepy element to the story. That's kind of as far as I've gotten. I will check back in with you a little later today when I've read further. The other thing that I'm hoping to do today is to go out and get some wool to knit Granola a sweater. The type of wool that I want to get for him is, I haven't even looked up a pattern, but the kind of wool that I think is really good for knitting sweaters that you can wash that I've heard is the Cascade Superwash. And I'm just trying to see if there's a place in Montreal that sells it. I'm gonna look for a dog sweater pattern now. I think he'll like it. I mean, I don't know if you're supposed to give dogs sweaters. Like, I think they have fur. So I don't know how good of an idea is it to give them sweaters. Does it make them uncomfortable? I know it looks nice, but I'm not sure if it's such a great idea. I'm just doing this for fun because I feel like knitting something. It's that time of year. I'm on Ravelry and oh, I found a pretty cute one, but it looks a bit complicated. It has buttons and stuff. I don't want to have to make buttons. Okay, well, I think I found a pattern, which is fun. A simple pattern. I just have to measure Nola's neck, torso, and what do I have to measure? His neck, chest, and length in order to figure out what size. And I have to see if I have the right size needles. But I will do all of that off of camera. I will just show you this very cute picture of this small dog wearing the sweater. This is what I want to knit for him. We'll see how it goes.
The Christmases of old, where the snow would fall and the air was crisp and cold, where we heard of angels up on high while building Frosty the Snowman until late outside. Christmases of old, when all was right and the candlelight would glow, where we used to play in the wintry wonderland, and we hear carols sung from Rudolph's marching band. Oh, oh.
All right, vlogging in the street, I am. So I acquired the wool. I will show you more when I get home, but look, I got it. Got the wool. Yay! So happy about that. The first wool store that I went to had the superwash wool that I wanted, which is very good news. And I just happened to be in the neighborhood of an artisanal Christmas market, which I did my best to film in there. It was not easy. It was very, very full of people. But it's one that we have every year. It's called the Puce Pop, and it's put on by the same people who organize Pop Montreal. So that was nice. I found stuff for myself in there. I found this woman who was selling these really cute charms. And I ended up buying a couple of charms for my notebooks, for my planner. I didn't get any gifts in there. It was a lot of soap, a lot of pottery. I don't know, just stuff that I don't think is on my gift list this year. I like to give books, but it was fun to go in and check it out and see what people were making. It was nice to update you on the books. I might update you on my books tomorrow morning. So I am a little bit sniffly right now because I've just come from a big walk on the mountain. You will have just seen some footage of that. I think we were on the mountain this morning. It's a very cold day in Montreal. I think we started out at maybe -11 or colder. So it's definitely chilly out there. But we had a lovely kind of hike. We went all the way up to the top of the mountain. I went all the way up to where the cross is and back down with Nola. It was a little bit treacherous. It was a little bit icy. Kind of scares me. I'm always worried I'm going to fall and hit my head. I will say that Nola is much more nimble than I am when it comes to these things. He seems to be able to walk on ice so easily. Animals are so incredible. And yesterday I did go and buy the wool to make him a sweater, which I'm very excited about. So I'll show you my progress on my knitting project at the end of the segment. In the meantime, though, I'm about 2 hours away from Scott's book club meeting, and I would say about 2/3 of the way through the Empusium by Olga Tokarczuk. And I am loving this. I'm loving it. I love her writing. I think she is very, very intelligent. She's very funny. I mean, I'm laughing at some of her jokes. I do think that this is very, very similar to Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead. I just feel like it's a similar story, it's a similar structure. In many ways it's very different, but it does take place in this remote countryside setting. And there are all of these kind of folk rituals that are taking place amongst the people in the town. It has that similar kind of atmosphere that existed in Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead. And strange things are happening in the same way that strange things were happening in that book. And then in other ways it's quite different because she has the characters at the sanatorium who are all men. She has them in various different conversations on various different topics. So it gives her an opportunity to more overtly explore some ideas that she is maybe interested in exploring. Set at the right before the beginning of the First World War, which historically I don't know that much about, and I don't know that much about Poland. It's going to be interesting to see what people talk about in the group today. I have so many questions for other people in the book club group, just about, because I find sometimes when you meet with book club groups, there are these people who have a ton of knowledge about the context of a given book, and I feel like this book, it would help if you had some of that context, and unfortunately I just don't have it in my knowledge bank. But it works, it still works. It's still working for me as a book regardless. I'm really, really enjoying it. I think that she is very talented. She's using this setting and having these men be isolated in this setting. She's doing a lot of different things with this. So on the one hand, they're having these conversations and they talk about everything from religion to politics. They spend a lot of time speaking about women, however, and not highly. So it's a kind of it's really an exploration of this kind of misogyny, that it exists or existed. You could take it either way. Conversations like, do women have souls? Are women's brains inferior to men's brains? It's no shock that, of course, the consensus is that yes, they are inferior, or that that's what's being suggested. Are women more susceptible to madness? There was a reference, there's a lot of religious references as well in the story, and because I am not a religious person, a lot of those go over my head as well. I felt that way when I was reading in my group for East of Eden. I didn't know a lot of the religious references, and I either had to look them up or people in the group very kindly educated me about them. But there is this one about a frog and the devil. So our main character, Voynich, he in his household, he was raised with these very negative ideas about women, and those negative ideas are reinforced by the men at the sanatorium in various different ways. His uncle described women as, and I just thought this was fascinating, and I don't know if it has a religious reference, but he would say, woman, frog, and devil, these are siblings trouble. And as a kid, she writes his character trying to figure out what is the meaning of this adage? Like, what was his uncle trying to say? Was there really a connection between a woman, a frog, and a devil? And it's such a damp, murky threesome. Takes the woman out of the civilized world and puts her into the animal world and then the underworld, and it's a very evil characterization of women. So it's got this very folklore, folktale feeling to it. So Glyceria, his nanny, is the only woman that he can call to mind. This trio, it's like from this abyss of the forest where people don't normally go, and it's like the underbelly of the world. He can imagine what his nanny Glyceria has in common with a frog, but he has more difficulty imagining what she has in common with the devil. So because Glyceria is fat, he can relate her to a frog. There's a deep misogyny presented here. Idea that women become hysterical because of being ungratified sexually. And on the other side of that men are prone to violence if they're not satisfied. There's this whole entire atmosphere of a fairy tale as well. So a little bit like Drive Your Plow with Bones, she's able to create this feeling of being in a veiled world, a world that's outside of this world. They're constantly eating mushrooms that they find in the forest, and they use these mushrooms to make drinks. And so there's this whole idea that they're living under a spell or in a land that's not necessarily part of the rest of the world, where, of course, these big political issues are playing out in the beginning and lead up to the First World War. It's like an imaginary realm where they are all staying. It makes me think about Kafka too, just because he had TB and he was in a sanatorium. So the whole time I've been reading this, I've been also thinking about him. And our main character, he's a young man, and I just finished reading this very sweet scene where he's really afraid that he's going to die, and he wishes for his father, and he wishes for his father to hug him and to like hold him. It's really sad. So in terms of the plot of the story, we have bodies bodies and their dismembered parts that the country people are complaining about having to collect every year after these men are murdered, and they're always murdered in November. But we don't know who's actually killing these men. Some of the explanations are that there's like beast in the forest, and the charcoal men have made these big wooden figurines that they are like deities, that they are. And apparently one of the explanations is that the shepherds and the charcoal men are fighting each other, but that doesn't seem very plausible. And so all of these explanations about why these men are being killed and the mystery around their killings are making our young protagonist very nervous. And that's kind of where I am in the story. I would like to finish it in the next couple of hours, so I'm not going to talk too much more on it because I need to get back to reading it. There is also a lot of discussion of politics, which is a very interesting section that I just finished reading about democracy, and that democracy can never work as a system because there will always be somebody charismatic who decides that they want to hoard power within a democracy, and therefore they will always shift it towards an authoritarian government. So it could only work in times of transition between different authoritarian governments, which I thought was really interesting. There's a lot to think about. This is really why I really love her. I think she's really intelligent, and she's very, very funny. I didn't mark any of the funny passages, but there's been a few times where I've really laughed out loud at different scenes. And I'm really looking forward to the discussion. So I won't tell you what happens though, because I know there's a very unexpected There's a few unexpected plots, twists, which she did so well in Drag Your Pillow Over the Bones of the Dead, which I've heard she also does well in this one. Just a quick word about The Most by Jessica Anthony. I started this one this morning when I woke up, and it plunged me right away into a very eerie situation, just as it's described on the description, which I've talked about on the channel. It's about a woman who wakes up one morning, she's not feeling well, she decides not to go to church, and when her husband and her 2 sons come back from church, they find her in the pool in their apartment complex. She's wearing a bathing suit that she had when she was in high school, this red bathing suit, and that is the opening. And now we're getting some backstory about how they ended up moving to this apartment complex, how they met each other, their marriage, and already there are some explanations that are going to be part of the story. I don't want to tell you what they are because I don't want to ruin it for anyone, but the writing is impeccable. I really, a feeling of, how could I describe it? It's giving me this feeling of something isn't right. Like, this woman's in this pool and she is sort of acting in a way that it's absolutely normal, that she's just smoking her cigarette and hanging out in the pool, and she's not really explaining why she's in the pool, and we don't know kind of what her motivation is or where it's going to lead to. And yeah, I think this is going to be a good one. So I'm enjoying it so far. The last update is going to be for my knitting. I bet you guys didn't know that I knit. I'm actually a pretty good knitter. I started working on Nola's sweater. I mean, if you're not interested in knitting, you can skip this next few minutes of the video. Yeah, this is more in the light. You could look at the gorgeous colors of this wool. It took me a little while to decide because they had a gray mix and they had another blue, kind of different blue combinations, but I really like this. It's got a little bit of burnt rust color mixed with a little bit of green, a little bit of blue, and a little bit of purple. So I started this on a circular set of needles and it was too long. The string between the 2 needles was too long, so I switched to 4-point needles, which is this when you section the knitting off, for those of you that are interested. And I've started with a basic rib. We're starting with the neck. I measured his neck, measured his body. He's quite a large dog. He's going to be getting an extra large sweater, but this pattern I think is for small dogs. So I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying that little project. I'm not sure if I'll finish it for this vlog, but it's a fun little project. I'll show you my progress. I'll check in with you after I meet for the book club. Hi! My tree! So excited about the Christmas tree. It's decorated, it's all lit up and shiny. I am going out this evening to go roller skating because it's Monday night, it's my roller skating night. Yesterday we had the book club meeting with Scott's Patreons for the Empusium by Olga Tokarczuk, which I'll talk about a little bit. I realize I haven't made it to a library yet, but I guess that's happening next week. Before I talk about the Empusium, I just wanted to mention that I'm about 50 pages into We Meant Well. It's really good. The writing is very good. I'm already captivated by the story. I am finding it a bit disturbing because even in the first 50 pages, we have this encounter between Maya and this young girl who has been assaulted by Mark, who is her colleague at this organization. She gets a message from the director of the charity, and I'll just read you this part, which says, "Maya, I trust you've arrived safely. The situation is deteriorating. Protesters have surrounded the project site. One of the drivers was assaulted on his way to work." So they have these drivers who drive them around. There's a lot of exploration of class distinctions and already in terms of how they are living as visitors running their charitable organization versus the people who work for them versus the people who live in the village. She's reading an email from him, and the email goes on to say, "We have requested that Mark remain in the office until things calm down. We trust you have an evacuation plan in mind and will advise us how to proceed. We count on your expertise to be responsive to the aggrieved beneficiaries while protecting the brand." And then she reflects on this email. "I can almost hear the forced calm of Burton's voice. Protecting the brand looms, a symbolic flag over my head, a banner by which I must swear my allegiance. Protecting the brand means protecting vulnerable lives, those of the people we serve, but also those of our bosses, of our colleagues. Burton knows. He is the Britisher living in Geneva type, the bureaucrat with weekend games of tennis, that proper kind of man who finds my Americanness too forward. He liaises with donors, ensures that folks in the field are complying. He takes a few trips to Lacanny every year, during which he wears a crinkly safari hat. He ensures that everything looks good, that all we do can be documented on a glossy leaflet or in a poignant video while reflecting the benevolence of the human spirit." And then she goes on a little bit later to say, "If I have to protect anything as large as a brand, the multitude of people it employs, the children it serves, the donors it courts, I'm in trouble." So you can see the setup here, that she feels out of her depth to deal with this situation, that it's a pretty horrendous situation because this young girl has been raped. We don't know yet if it is actually this man, Mark, who perpetrated the rape, and I imagine that's going to get explored. I'm guessing it probably is for the purposes of the story, but we don't know yet. And yeah, it's very well written. It's really up there. I mean, for me, it's as well written as any of the other books that I've been reading. So it's interesting because she is dealing with a lot of important ethical questions about charitable work and the nature of the power dynamics within a charitable organization. As you probably know, if you watch my channel, this is the kind of material that I get a lot out of. So I'm probably not going to be able to finish it for the vlog, but I'm definitely going to finish it this month for the readathon. I haven't read any more of The Most. I've set that aside because I really wanted to finish the Empusium quickly so that I could join the book club conversation. I have to say that it was a bit of a mixed bag reaction in the book club. A lot of people seem to find the build up in the Empusium and I guess the meandering, the way that it meanders away from the plot, it's not completely plot focused, a bit off-putting, or having trouble picking it up again or having less patience for it, which is really a shame because I mean, it's fine. People are free to DNF, but I do think that I thought this book was wonderful. It reminds me a lot of Drive Your Plow in some ways. And in some ways, the plot really isn't that different. I don't want to give anything away. There are twists and turns specific to the characters in the story. But I also think that Tokarczuk is doing a lot more interesting things with this novel. Structure of it is interesting in that she seems to be moving between the real world and an underworld or a mystical world. Not so much like a fairy mystical world, but more like a witchy mystical world. In fact, some of the narration is done by these spirits. So I'll just give you an example from a passage where you're reading the story and you're getting the narrative from one of the characters' perspectives, and then the witches kind of come in and take over the narrative. They seem to intrude on the story, which adds to the confusion. Like, I think that the thing about the Empusium is that a lot of it is quite confusing because there are a lot of different male characters, and then we have these spirit characters, and the way that she's written it, it sometimes gets a bit confusing to know who is speaking, who's espousing what idea. So I think that might be off-putting for some people. Once awake, Wojciech immediately set about writing a message to his father to reassure him. It was a matter of a few simple words, yet he didn't find it easy. His forearm felt numb and weak, so he focused all his attention on his hand as it ran the pencil tip across the sheet of cream-colored paper in a leather-bound notebook. We find this movement fascinating. We like it. See how this changes to this we chorus? It reminds us of the winding lines and spiral flourishes that earthworms bore underground and that weevils carve into tree trunks. So these spirits are present in the narration of the book. They also, when they have their discussions, they drink this tea or this liqueur that's made from mushrooms. So it might, like, there's this sense that you're moving in between the real world and a hallucinated world or an unreal world that I really enjoyed, but I'm not sure if people will enjoy it. I think maybe it's not for everyone. I think she's a wonderful writer. I appreciated this almost even more than Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead because I liked the way she was exploring all of this theorizing about women. And it's very misogynistic, but you might have heard this already, but at the end of the novel in her author's note, she states that she's taken all of those views that are included in those discussions. They've all come from great male thinkers, philosophical thinkers, and Shakespeare and laureates. But none of this surprises me, of course, but she's so intelligent and that's so smart. I mean, she seems to ultimately be saying, like, there are no knowledgeable men in the world. Like, she's literally saying, like, men are not knowledgeable. I've decided, like, the fact that they could have these very unevolved ideas about women is not so much shocking, but it just is to kind of makes them smaller. And I think that that is amazing. I think she's amazing. It's such a feminist book, this book, and yet it's a feminist book that has almost exclusively male characters. I think that you'd be forgiven if you started reading the Empusium and you found that it slowed or that it sagged and that you were having trouble sticking with it. It's a bit confusing, it's a bit convoluted, and even our main character, Bushnik, at one point he says in the story, I'm going to stop drinking the tea because even he himself is getting confused as to who is saying what and who stands where. Like, he's starting to lose his bearings. It's forgivable that we have started to lose our bearings. I think she's trying to say that, you know, we make up the world to be what we want it to be. We decide how we want to see the world, and what our definitions of the world are completely fathomed by us. But even if you don't want to engage with the discussion, with the elements in the discussions that I found interesting, for example, about politics or about other ideas of religion and so on, the book is a very entertaining novel. The characters are very vibrant and there is a really good plot to the story, even though it does feel a little bit rushed at the end. So it has a slow build and then it has a big kind of finale where you get a lot more action in the plot near the end of the story. So yeah, I've done my best to avoid any spoilers in talking about the book and my reading experience of it. I hope that I've encouraged you to pick it up because I really, really liked it. I'll talk more about it, maybe more succinctly in the wrap-up when I do a wrap-up at the end of the year, but I'm so glad I read it. Olga Tokarczuk is just a really special writer, and I guess it's a little bit like Mona Awad or other authors where it's, if she's for you, she's for you. I mean, Miranda July is another example. If she's for you, she's for you, and if she's not for you, I can certainly understand why, but I'm a huge fan. I think she blows my mind. She's very, very, very smart. There's so many things that I could go on and on and on and on and gush about this story. There's so many thought-provoking ideas presented, and the characters are so empathically presented. Like, you feel very much for the character, especially the young Wojcik. You just really feel for him. I really felt for him. And then there's this one very, very particular scene at the end where he's being treated by a doctor, and it's just a very kind scene. Like, the doctor is very kind to him. I think the other thing that I should maybe comment on is the idea that she's taken from Thomas Mann's Magic Mountain. Personally, I have not read Magic Mountain, and I don't have the impression that you need to read Magic Mountain to be able to enjoy Tokarczuk's book. Obviously, there are parallels between the two. Mann apparently wrote Magic Mountain when his wife was being treated in a sanatorium, so the setting is similar and the atmosphere is the same. time, and idea that you're being brought somewhere where you're supposed to be healed, but ultimately you're being brought somewhere where you're probably going to end up dying. Those ideas I think probably have parallels, and I'm speaking about this without having read Thomas Mann's book, but I don't feel like I need to go off and read it. And I'm sure that there are conceptual ideas that he explores that she might be riffing on, but I think Tokarczuk is doing her own thing with this. I mean, this book is, it's almost like stamped Tokarczuk, like it's her. It's definitely being used for her purposes to advance the thinking and the ideas that she wants to advance, having to do with feminism and having to do with just trying to understand the world in a more fluid way, whether it's through concreteness of reality versus aspects of unreality. At one point, one of the characters is talking about living in different dimensions. Like, you know, I think she's a very creative person, and she's expressing a lot of creativity, thinking about things in a binary way versus thinking about things in a very non-binary way is definitely explored in the novel. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm going off roller skating. Might check out some Christmas lights. That was my last roller skating community practice until 2025. They're gonna stop having community practice for the holidays and then start up again in 2025. So that was really, really fun. I'm quite tired. I'm about to go home and edit this vlog for you all. But before we do that, as promised, I am going to show you some pretty crazy Christmas lights. I'm gonna end the vlog with a little Christmas light show. Aren't you excited?
It's a cold night, baby, and I'm on my way to you. And the snow keeps falling down. Lit a fire and look down on the avenue. I just love the way you carry the crown. It's just me and you tonight, and I'm all yours. We'll be in our happy place. This December will be the best, I'm pretty sure. And I am truly yours in every way. So hold me now, it's Christmas time. Bring joy to people in this town. In this way we